So, welcome back to another episode of the Manchester SEO podcast. Today we've got Mark Stanton with us, former Chief Superintendent of the Merseyside Police Force. Is that right?
It is.
Yeah, you raised your eyebrows and I thought I've said something
Yeah,
wrong.
no, you definitely didn't get it wrong. It's just that it's when you hear it back, and
Yeah.
oh yeah, it feels a bit grand.
Yeah. There's 30 years of service in that, and now it was a company called Develop People.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that, what you're doing now. That's a good place to start.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, thanks for having me on, because it's great to be able to come and talk. And
Yeah.
I think, so what do we do at the moment? So we're a leadership and personal development company.
Okay.
We have been in existence for around 14 years, and we take people on a bit of a journey. We've got, from my past experience and my wife, who is the founder of the business, she set out on a bit of a mission to eradicate one bad manager at a time.
Okay.
And that came from her own personal experiences, where she felt that as a member of a team, there was a better way of being looked after than the way that she was being looked after.
Yeah.
And we now help a lot of business owners, business leaders, new managers, people who've been established managers, but maybe have been promoted because they were brilliant at what the job was that they did. So you might have been a top engineer, and then people say, "Oh, do you know what? You could go and lead the team now." And then all of a sudden they wonder why people fall out with them, because they're, delegating a load of work to them, and they're falling out over the way that that's done, or they don't like having a difficult conversation with a friend that they have previously been alongside. And we go and help people to discover who they are so that they can learn to lead other people better.
We're just literally talking about this with Lucinda about my first exposure in the working world to management was someone that got promoted, and they went from being the top salesperson to being a tricky manager. It's a nice way of putting it, because the skill set that made them really, really good at being a top salesman was very different to managing people, especially that might have been friends as well. It's a completely different skill set, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to go away and be able to learn some of it. But I think, and the way that we would describe it is, before you can lead others, you've got to learn to lead yourself. And you've got to get an understanding of what makes you tick, what motivates you, what causes you stress. What's the size and scale of that impact that you have on the people around you? So how does the way that you speak adversely or helpfully impact the lives in the the working environment of the people that that you're leading? And what people don't tend to do is focus on, well, who am I? What's my communication style? Do I like detail? Am I a get up and go person? Am I a person that likes a lot of stability? And why is it that those behaviors or that way works for me, but why do all these people not suddenly work and think like I do? Because we're all individual, and we have to get to know those different personality types and those different styles, so that as a manager, you can get the best out of them.
I heard Jurgen Klopp talking recently.
Right.
And it's quite interesting, management styles now to before, and he said that not everyone's the same. So to have blanket rules for everyone, sometimes it's like a misnomer, really. It makes no sense. But then there's got to be certain things that people will conform to, and then it's like, well, what are those? So it's tricky. It's not easy, is it?
No, it's definitely not. And I think if it was easy, we wouldn't see people leaving businesses because their management, their managers would be brilliant. And it's funny what you say about football. We could probably go down a rabbit hole talking about football, in fairness. But, every footballer that goes into a team has a different personality, and it's that chemistry that you've got to build up that says, right, okay, not only have you got the technical skills, but I've also got to be able to develop how you create a relationship with the people either side of you. And that's no different to business. That's exactly the same, is that you're a member of a working team. You will be known for being good at something, but how do you bridge the gap between the other person that's also good at something, but it's different to what you're good at?
Yeah.
And that's where that learning comes in.
It's fascinating to me. We're going to have a conversation. So, I mean, one thing we did touch on is your past career. Did you always want to get into the police, or a uniform related role, an ambition?
Yeah. I mean, I flip-flopped between a couple of careers when I was young. When I was younger, I thought about going into photojournalism. I had a real sort of passion for photography, and I also like writing. And I thought, well, okay, that sounds quite good.
Yeah.
But then there was something about policing. What I could tell you is my earliest memory of ever wanting to be a police officer was, we had a Clark shoe shop in our local town where I was born. And I remember going to the shoe shop with my mum, and I was getting a pair of school shoes. I was probably about 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy asking me, he said, what sort of shoes do you want? Oh, I said, I want some policeman shoes. And that was it. And it was probably the fact that, I got used to get pushed around in the buggy or whatever, or, walking around. And the highest thing that you could probably see of most police officers in those days was their shoes. But something must have resonated. And then the interest became through sort of like watching some of the early police programs that were on the telly, and then feeling that there was, really having a strong bit of a sense of justice, really, and thinking there's got to be a way of helping other people that can have an impact, make a difference to people. And at the same time, you get some excitement, you get to do some variety.
Right.
And I know when I was interviewed for the police, the guy, you always knew, I think probably when you go to any job, people said, why do you want to do this job?
Yes.
And when I sat there, I was like, I think I was 18 and a bit, or 17, because I joined the police cadets beforehand. So I was 17.
Okay.
And I remember sitting there in front of this superintendent, and he said, why do you want to join the police? And I thought, well, I'm prepared for this. So I said to him, I said, can I answer it in 2 ways? And he just went, he looked at me and he went, you can answer it in as many ways as you want, as long as you give me an answer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, okay. So I said, one way, I said, is I want to go and do drug raids. I want to chase stolen cars. I want to lock people up for breaking into people's houses. I want to be able to go and work at sporting grounds, and and I'd like to go and do searches and all the stuff that I've seen on the telly. And I went, but I said, but my honest answer is, I said, is that ask me again in about 2 years after I've done the job, and I'll look back and tell you all the things that I did and go, that's why I wanted to do this. And that may be the drug raid. It may even be, I said, sort of like helping somebody across the road, as little as that, and you've made a difference. I said, I was 17, so I had to come up with something, but that's what I came up with. But I think when I look at it, it's like, why did I do it? I did it because I genuinely felt that I had a role in playing a difference in the lives of other people.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how that would materialize, what it would mean, or later what the impact would be on myself, sort of thing. So,
did you climb up the ranks fairly quickly? Or?
No, I don't think I did. I was a constable for 12 years, nearly 13 years.
Okay.
So in that 30 years, there was 12 years of being out on the streets, doing the job that I then eventually ended up asking people to go and do.
Yeah.
And then in that latter period, I made it through 5, 6 ranks.
Yeah.
To chief super. And sort of quickly went through one or two of them, plateaued at another couple, and then at the end got the other one, you know, with about 18 months to go before I finished.
Yeah. So you hear some people, and some people struggle to get through the certain levels in the force. I suppose that can be timing as well, with others retiring, they're above, and performance. Do you think there's also an element of networking that goes on in police force and getting your name known to people? And
I think when you said, I could feel,
this might be a tricky one to answer, but I'm just thinking, you know, you got to be good at other stuff as well, haven't you? You got to be good at your job, but also you got to be good with people.
Absolutely. You'd got to be able to build relationships, and you had got to be able to, yes, you've got to be good at the job. You've got to be seen to be good at the job, but it was also we need to see you around other people and what effect you're having on them. So I always think that, you know, despite the rank that I got to, the most important rank that I ever was the sergeant rank, which was the first rank above, the first promotion.
Right.
Because that's the stage where you've gone from being the colleague on the street with them to now you're going to be, and although you may get moved areas or departments, it's the first time you've got to step in and go, I've got a different role to play.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always about me now going out and doing that part of the job.
Yeah.
I'll be there, I'll oversee things, I'll supervise things. But it was also, you were the bridge between, like, I used to look at it and I used to think, oh, we get some corporate drivel drop down to us here. To the Bobby on the street, the police officers that were on the streets, it was like, this is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything to them. You know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the fact that somebody's put in a policy or a procedure, and when you're out there, you know, it's raining, it's cold, you're tired, you're trying to make the right decisions. And then what happens is the following morning, you become a member, you know, senior leaders become members of what we used to call the shudder squad. And the shudder squad literally was when they'd look backwards at all the things that had gone on during the 24 hours, and they go, oh, well, they should have done this, they should have done that. Right. And you were like, and so they became the shudder squad. And I think that, you know, for me, when I went on that journey of moving from the operational side, you know, from the hands-on doing the constable's role, was always never forget where you've come from. Yeah. Because that's the important role. What does it mean to them? Yeah. Going out and doing the job. So how do I simplify it so that it's easy for them to do the right thing? Yeah. You know, and I had a lot of great mentors. I had a lot of people who were really supportive, people who weren't afraid to take you to one side and go, you need to rethink this approach here as to what you're doing. Yeah. And that level of honesty was always there. Yeah.
It's a big thing, isn't it? Honesty, when people's lives are at stake, and, you know, there's quite a high stressful situations. And
possibly so. And you've got to be in a position where, for me, you have to have a learning mindset. You've got to be able to go, you know what, I don't have all the answers to this particular problem, or I don't have the skills to do the job that people are being asked to do. Yeah. So I need to get those people who have got the skills or have got the answers, and I need to create where they can come and do it. And we have to learn it. If we got it wrong, you had to learn why it had gone wrong and what the contributions were. And I think there's a big difference between blaming people for something that's gone wrong and actually finding out what's the root cause of why this has happened. Yeah. And how do we change that in the future?
It's funny, it was Roger Federer's coach, I can't remember his name now, said there's only two things we spoke about after a game. It's like, what did I do well and what can I learn from it? Yeah. It's a similar thing, isn't it? Rather than criticising everything that's done badly, right, what can we learn from that? How can we better next time?
Yeah, absolutely.
From that, you seem like, so the way you answered that first question before, why do you want to join the police, was quite a strategic way of answering it, rather than just going into one answer where you give everything. It was like, I can answer this in 2 ways.
Yeah,
Where do you think that came from?
Oh, blimey. I think the thing was that I knew going in and getting into the police at the age that I was, even though I was going for a cadetship at that time, which was sort of a precursor to it. In those days, being a police cadet was a full-time job. You got paid for being fit, which was fantastic. We had amazing places to go trekking and all the rest of it. But what my thought was that when I went into this, I need to stand out. I need to be different to other people. If I'm going to get this, I think when we got told, there was something like 1,000 people had applied for those cadet roles.
Wow.
And 40 of us got them.
Yeah.
And my perception of that was, I've got to try and come across as different. But at the same time, I didn't really know it at the time, but also be honest and authentic with with who I was. And I've talked with people previously where, you know, I had what I would probably describe now as a difficult childhood. It wasn't the easiest of times being with the parents that I had. We were a combined family in the 70s. And one of the things that I learned really quickly was that if you learn to speak to adults in an adult way, you generally don't get a whack round the head. So I think my survival was, I need to be able to learn how these people, these older people, either what they want to hear, or I have to show that I'm worthy of being in and around them. And that was how I felt for a long, long time. And that probably then was the thing that sort of attached me to go, well, I've got to answer this like an adult. I've got to find a better way to answer this.
But it's still strategic thinking.
Yeah, you just don't call it that. No. If you'd have asked me I think even now, if you ask me what strategy is, I go, oh, God, hang on a minute. Let's get to you. What strategy?
Because I remember moving houses and living in one place and going to another where there was 2 council estates that were fighting against each other underneath a motorway, subway, and thinking, well, the fuck am I doing here? But then thinking, well, we're not going anywhere else. How do I survive here? What is my plan to make friends, to be safe? And I suppose not only survival thing, but there's a thinking of, I've got to do well.
Yeah.
How am I going to do it?
This is it. It's funny, isn't it? Because like every one of us, I think, as young kids, creates stuff that helps us survive. And my stepbrother was a fighter. He would have no problem getting into a fight with somebody and solving his problem that way. And I was the complete opposite. I was like, I don't want to get in a fight. Yeah. If I can make you laugh, or we can have a conversation, and you go, oh, you're not going to have a fight with me, I'll be fine. Yeah. And maybe some of that was, you learn a way of talking, you learn that little way of surviving, and you take that into an organisation like policing, and people help shape who you are, and you have an impact on other people as well.
It's fascinating. When you first started, do you remember the kind of I always look back at my managers when I first started, leaders with anything, the first kind of sporting game you played with adults, and first real job. Was there anything that you kind of struck you when you first joined the police? And
so there were a few. And you've almost taken me back to, you've taken me back to day one, sitting around the parade room table and thinking of the sergeants that were in the room, who were very much, they were going to hold you accountable. They were going to make you do the job professionally and properly. They weren't going to let you cut corners, but my God, they also had your back. Yeah. And they were going to defend you, and they were going to look after you. They were going to look out for your interests as well. And if they believed that what you'd done was right, but somebody else disagreed, they would be in your corner, fighting your corner for you. And there was, I remember a sergeant that I had sort of like in my earlier career, a guy called Bob Dodson, who sadly he's passed away many years ago now. But I always remember with Bob was that he wasn't the most popular, and he used to give us our paperwork back in the days where our crime reports were paper. And you had to put down everything that you'd done on these reports. You'd have a supplementary crime report that you'd put in. And Bob used to have this thing of putting what we called a yellow peril on it. And the yellow peril was, he used to have yellow paper and he used to have an ink pen. He was the only sergeant that we knew that got an ink pen. And he used to write all the comments that he was unhappy with on your investigation on this yellow paper. And if you got a crime back and it came back with a yellow paper on it, you were like, oh my God, I'm never going to get rid of this, because he was so particular on the detail. But I always remember that we both had a liking for cricket. We both were committed to sort of like, being proactive and going and not waiting to be told to go to jobs. It was like, go and be proactive and disrupt things. And I remember I became a team member of his on a plainclothes unit.
Yeah.
And we went to an armed robbery that had occurred in a newsagents, and these four lads, this is how long ago it was, these four lads got off in a metro, in a mini metro, not like the train metro that we've got in Manchester. And they went into this housing estate, and the uniform team got there. We were in a plain clothes, and we got there, and we cordoned off this section. And he was deploying us to these 4 points, and he basically said they've gone in there. We were there that quick. He was absolutely adamant they've not left. They are in there, and we're going to find them, and we're going to get all of them. And after about 45 minutes, the uniform inspector called off all the uniform resources, stood the search down, and said, we're going. And there was a couple of us stood together on the plain clothes on the corner, and we were like, what's Bob going to do? And over the radio, he just shouted up and said, all of my team, stay exactly where you are. Do not leave the location that you are. And then we all went on back-to-back channels, and he basically said, they're here. We're not letting them go. He said, and I know they're here because you lot got here quick enough. And we spent probably 3.5, 4 hours then with the dogs. And the dog team found all four.
Wow.
And they had hidden themselves in places like, there was a couple of these old properties that had got old air raid bunkers in the gardens, and they'd all overgrown. There was brambles and everything, and they'd gone and buried themselves into the air raid things, pulled all the brambles back over, and had waited. And I think there wasn't a member of our team that never sat there and thought, wow, there's some determination and resilience and that commitment to go. I've got confidence in the team that I've got. I've got the right people in place, and we're not going until we get them. And I learned so much from Bob and the way that he did things.
It's that weighing up all the options and the decisions that you've made and what level of belief you have in them, and then sticking with it, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a lot of moral courage as well, if you think about it, because the person that was highest in rank had told him, we're all backing off and we're closing the search down. But to have the courage then to say, well, that's okay. You carry on, do your uniform work. We're going to stay and do this. That for me took a lot of bottle. And, it risked the not being liked, not being welcomed by other people, not being perceived as a team player, but actually showing, no, actually I am a team player. I've got a lot of faith in the people that are with me, and I'm really determined to do it. And, 30 plus years later, that story stayed with me because it's one of those times where it sort of drove home what that leadership and management was about.
When I talk to other people that have worked at the forces, there's always a real clarity on decision making. Do you think that's something that is done well, taught well, led well within the? It seems like something you have to have, really, don't you? You can't.
Yeah, and policing has its own model of decision making.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the national decision making model is a framework that you go into public order command, you go into firearms command, you go into learning public, you know, about your own personal safety. There's a method in which you can very quickly assess what's going on for me, what's the level of risk, what do I need to achieve legally, what am I responsible for, and what are my choices, and if choice A doesn't work, what are B, C, and D?
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, reviewing it, and then always looking at in the center of that decision making wheel, if you like, is what are the morals, the code of ethics, the code of practice that, if you like, the ordinary member of the public, if they were given the same set of circumstances that you knew at that exact moment in time, what would they say was a reasonable decision?
Yeah.
I used to have a chief who used to say, it was like, what would the person on the Clapham he called it the Clapham omnibus. It was like, it's a bus, I think. Or were they on a tram? I'm not sure. But that's what he used to say.
Does that relate to the real world? That's more real world than anything, isn't it? But does it relate to the business world? Well,
yeah, I think so, because what you end up with is, whenever you get given information, whenever you got to make a decision, you get given some information. Some of it you may be able to say is factual.
Yeah.
Some of it will be what your experience and knowledge will say, well, I'm going to assume this amount.
Yeah.
But in your decision making, you've got to determine what is factual information and what's assumption. Because if you base all of your decision entirely on the assumptions, the chances are you're going to get it wrong, because what you believe is an assumption is going to be go about your stuff, not what you're actually dealing with. And then everybody has an outcome that they want to be able to get as a result of the decision that they've got to make.
Yeah.
And when they make these decisions, sometimes it could be, are we going to prioritize customer service, or are we going to, you know, on a basic level, are we going to prioritize customer service? Are we going to prioritize the profit that we need to make? Are we going to look at, is it the staff that we need to protect more? What is it that we need to do?
Yeah.
So for me, you could just follow that process round. There will always be, in any business decision, some level of policy or procedure. You'll have a staff handbook in the business, maybe. You'll have regulatory requirements, maybe it's health and safety compliance that you need to do. Maybe it's the fact that you have an ISO standard that's required, but that in itself will dictate part of your decision making.
Yeah.
And then you come away with a load of actions. You decide, right, okay, well, we've got to do something. And if that doesn't work immediately, how can I flick on to the other one? And at the center of it should always be, what are your business values?
Yeah.
You know, that's why I like working with companies, to help them understand what those business values are, because once you know them, you can then make any multitude of decisions and always refer back to, is what I'm about to do in line with the values that we've got?
Yeah.
We used to have, to give you an example, like the policing side, we used to have, I was in Merseyside, the force mission was put the community first, prevent crime, protect people, put the community first. And community first was like the approach that the force had. But what it gave you was a really simple check-in as a senior leader when somebody had made a decision and you wanted to question. So instead of being the shudder squad, you could sit there and you could say, did the actions that the officer did, were they trying to put the community first? Yes. Did what they did their action help to prevent crime? Yes. Did their action help to protect somebody, yes, right. Why are we debating it then? Yeah. If we're not happy with the method that they've gone about doing it, let's go and talk to them about how they did it, not what they did.
Yeah.
Because the reality is we gave them a set of criteria that says prevent crime, protect people, put the community first. If you hit one or more of those, and that was their intention, you know that that person has done something for the right thing. If they've not done it how you do it, how you would do it, go and have that conversation about them. Go and understand what their logic was, what their rationale, what their reasoning was. But don't criticize the fact that they've acted in line with the values that you set out. And that's, for me, why your business values are really important.
I was having a conversation with someone. I was having a staff-related issue, and I was talking to someone I respect a lot, and he said, "So what are your values in the business?" And I told him, and he said, "So does this person exhibit those values? You know what you've got to do." And I thought, well, that's a really clear way of putting it.
That's it.
And everyone's going in the right direction then.
Yeah.
You know.
If you have a clearly defined set of values, you can talk to the team that you've got about what's important to you. But you can also recruit into the business based on those values. And you can assess anything based on performance, giving feedback to people, showing that you care. All relates back to these are the core values of what we do.
Yeah.
And the sad thing that I think is that some companies will have a set of core values and they go, oh yeah, we've got them on the internet somewhere. They're on the website somewhere. And the minute that you hear that, you know this company is not a values-based business. It's not making decisions around what they've said is important. Yet when you look at their job adverts, they'd have thrown those values in. We believe in this. We believe in high quality customer service. You know,
the local bank. You know, it's quite cool.
That's it.
And they're all shutting the local.
Yeah, this is it. A certain level of irony there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Over the years, something I didn't appreciate at all. In business world, never been part of anything I'd come across, and then someone said, "Well, what are your values?" And you're like, "Okay," and then you go through all the standard things, and oh God, being authentic and genuine with those values is a challenge I found, you know, and making them mean something to me and to the staff was really important.
How do you go about talking about those things then?
It had to mean something to me.
Yeah.
And so I talk from personal experience. I set up the business because I was kind of ripped off by an agency.
Okay.
Won't go too much into that. But so I set it up in a way that I didn't want that to happen to anyone else. So the value was communication and being clear in what we were doing and communicating that to people and the reasons why. And that was everything about it. And then there was the values of, you know, I won't go too much into it, but you know, it was about always, like you say, putting the customer and client first and delivery first over everything. And through that we get a lot of client retention.
Right.
Because even if it's a funny business, SEO, it doesn't always go up. You know, there are thousands of algorithm changes every year, and sometimes on a short-term basis, what changes can have an adverse effect. But if you're honest with people and you say, this has happened, we think this is the reason why, and this is what we're going to do about it. Human beings are quite reasonable. Surprisingly enough, are quite reasonable.
Yeah.
And if they understand why, then they're more than happy to stick with it. We do get some good results as well. But it's about feedback and communication, trust.
And I think, you know, it'd be interesting to know about how, when you relay those values back, that and take yourself back to that time that you felt that you were ripped off by a company, and then you go, there's got to be a better way of doing this. I think that tends to get you sort of like in your chest or in your stomach.
Yeah.
I don't think that you just feel that as oh, there's a thought, I'm going to go and do this differently. It's because it's provoked an emotional reaction of some kind, and you felt it physically in your body, and then you go, that's got to change. And it becomes really powerful. And, buying into what good communication means. Yeah, I think when people talk about what their businesses are and why they set them up, that's where the passion starts coming out. And then you go, as the leader of that business, the people that work with you need to know why you feel like that and how it affects you.
Yeah.
And then they start to buy into what the business is about, and they buy into you as a manager or as a leader.
It's funny because I'd been brought into other businesses. My thing was people, really. I'd had background in sales and software companies and things like that. And I was brought into a company because clients were talking about leaving and they were unhappy.
Right.
And when you delved into it, was just poor communication. Things issues with the software weren't being fixed. They weren't telling them why. They were scared to say something negative to them. In the end, they said nothing. And so the clients were getting, and these are multi-billion turnover clients. They were scared to talk to them because they thought, we don't want to lose that, the whatever it was, and that just made them want to leave more. And if you told them, it was perfectly reasonable reasons why, that they were like, all right, okay, we understand now. How can what's the best solution now? And that's where it all came to, and they ended up staying. It's really simple.
It is. A lot of the work that we do now is around people's individual needs, and we've all got them. If you look at it on a very basic human level, you want to be known for being good at something. You want to be able to make decisions on your own. You want to feel that you're heard and that people see you for the value that you offer. And everybody around us is going, right, okay, we all want to be able to do this. And then on top of it, you'll layer on things like, well, for some people, being financially free may be really important to them. Family may be important to them. Doing work that makes them think or makes them feel that they're making a difference becomes important. But those basic fundamental human needs that need to be heard, they need to be understood, they need to be, good at something, free to make your own choices, is within all of us.
Yeah.
And I think once we know that, recognize it, we can then support the teams that we've got far better, because we go, do you know what? Sometimes all of us have a bad day. Sometimes it goes wrong for everybody. Today, it's my day for not feeling good. Tomorrow, it's your day.
Yeah.
So, and I get really passionate and go, we should be kinder to each other, because every single one of us has either faced challenges, is facing challenges, or will face challenges that are going to directly impact how they can, be in the workplace. And it, can make or break teams. It can make or break businesses.
I had a few people come in and talk about the importance of feedback and how you deliver that. What it's called now. You remember what it's called, George? The giving feedback well.
Is it what? Shells?
Yeah.
Rancor?
Oh, radical
candor.
Okay.
We got that, and it's really interesting. I'm borderline obsessed with it.
Right.
In terms of how do you deliver feedback, and my brother-in-law always says, James, feedback's a gift. Just before he gives me some hard lessons on life.
One of the businesses I do work for, I'm a client partner for a company called Rising Vibe, and they're a culture organization, and they do a lot of work around feedback.
Yeah.
And one of the key things that we talk about a lot there is that feedback is a gift, depends on what the intent was when it was given.
Yeah.
So if your feedback is to help you understand something, to help you learn, to help you grow, then absolutely it could be a gift. If the feedback is given to you on the basis of, I just want to win, I want to make a point and I want to prove that I'm better than you and I want to hurt you as a result of what I'm about to tell you, that's not a gift.
No.
You know, the gift has to be because I want you to develop yourself in order to be able to grow or learn or understand my position. It may be to understand the situation. It may be to understand how I've interpreted your actions. Let me give you some feedback.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we can do with feedback is be open and honest with people and be upfront with it. Don't try and mask it.
Yeah. What is it? Fergie says, truth works always. And if you give something with the right intentions that is truthful, that's more likely to hit where it needs to, and growth comes from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
When it comes to those kind of that skill set as you've gone through the ranks and career, what do you think? Which skill do you think helped you the most, or with the roles you had? It seems like you're really good at talking, like public speaking and delivering messages. Is that something that was learned, or
That's
quite natural?
that's probably learned in as much as, I mean, I don't want to harp back on to like being younger, but could I stand up in a school assembly and do stuff? I could. I was okay at it. I was quite confident at doing it. But I think, you know, go and put a uniform on, walk around the streets at 18 and a half and have people staring at you. And you think, shine a light. Everybody's looking at me here. I've got to be the person that steps up.
Yeah.
And that undoubtedly has an impact on your ability to be able to talk with people. But, you know, don't be fooled, because inside your heart rate is going 10 to the dozen. You know, there's times where you absolutely want to do what everybody else is doing, which is run away.
Sure.
And you go, no, you talk yourself through that, because that's what you signed up to do, and you learn to do it. But I think to go back to like the question, like the skill that got me through the most was be myself. I think, you know, there were times where I tried to be somebody else, you know, where I tried to follow the exact example that somebody else had done, their style of leadership or their approach to dealing with a particular problem. And it works for a while. And it works until you have to start working independently and think below that first layer of what you've seen.
Okay.
And then you go, oh shit, what do I do now? I can't do that now. Well, what's my version of it? Well, I do this.
Yeah.
So I think I became a better leader and a better person when I realized, actually, just be you.
Yeah.
Be you. And some days you're going to get this right. Some days you're going to get it horribly wrong. But being me means I go out, and if I have got it horribly wrong, I go and find out what I did. And, you know, I mean, later on in my service, there was, I worked with a guy who, we'd had a series of issues with him. He'd had protracted periods of sickness. And he was dissatisfied with the role that he was in and the way that the department was running it. And he, like I say, went on this period of long-term sick. I had my excuse, my reasons for not going and seeing him personally were, I've got lots of other things to do. There's another 200 people in the department. I can't just focus on one individual. And I basically conveyed a message to my deputy and said, right, I need you to go out, go and have a conversation with him and tell him these things, and then try and get him back into work. And he went and told a message, and eventually the guy came back to work. But when he came back into the workplace, I could be as close as we're sat now, and he would literally turn his back.
Right.
He wouldn't speak to me, and it went on every engagement where I saw him for a number of weeks.
Yeah.
It was like, why is this guy keep either walking away or turning his back or you'd say good morning to him and he would blank me.
Right.
And I was like, you know, if you looked at it on a hierarchy structure, I was like 4 ranks above him.
Yeah.
And
It's
even
really weird.
it was really weird.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've done something here
Yeah.
that isn't right. And I ended up, I got him in the office, you know, and I said, look, I'd like to have a chat with you. I said, I believe that I have done something and I'm not sure what, because clearly you don't want to speak to me and I'm seeing this. And he basically offloaded and said, you know what, he said, you conveyed some messages. And he said, and you didn't have the courage to come and talk to me yourself and come and say those things to me. You got somebody else to do your work for you. And I was like, no, let me. So I listened and I thought, God, this is awful. That isn't what my intention was. My intention was, I've got multiple things. So the first thing that I said to him was, I'm sorry. I am genuinely sorry. And he said, he explained how his wife hated me. He hated me. He didn't want anything to do with me. And I was like, you know, your reaction is the same as mine. I'm like, fuck, no. I want to put this right. Not I need to put it right. I was like, I want to put this right. And the first thing that I said was, you know, I never appreciated the impact that I had on you, and what I've done is wrong. And I said, you know, there is a better way that I could have done this. This was my intention. This is clearly what that effect is and has on you. And I said, there is nothing more that I can do at this stage than to say, I am genuinely sorry for what impact it is that I've had on you. And I remember that he looked at me and I thought, well, he's either going to accept that or he's not. And he sort of looked at me and he said, that's the first time, he said, anybody of your level has ever uttered those words in my direction at any point in my career. And he walked out and he shook my hand and he said, thank you. And he said, but I'm going to go away and think about what you've said. And I was like, absolutely, I can't argue his interpretation of what I'd said and done. I had my reasons.
Yeah.
But the strange thing was that as a result of that conversation, he got himself more involved in the team. He was due to retire a few months later. I think anybody who's leaving an organisation like that shouldn't be going where they leave with acrimony around.
Yeah.
And when it came to his retirement, I went to ask him and I said, I nearly said his name then. I said, when is your retirement? When's your last working day? And he said, it's on this day. And he said to me, he said, would you do me a favour though, boss? I said, what's that? He said, I've always wanted, he said, that on the last day that I leave, that a senior officer sees me out the building. And I went, right, okay. And I'm thinking he's going to ask, you know, can you go and get the chief, or is there any way you could get the boss to do that, like my boss above me? And he went, and I want you to do it. And I was blown away. It still gets me now, because I just thought, wow, one is like, look at where he'd gone on a journey and the, if you like, the level of forgiveness that he saw that he could offer me, but he also valued then because of the honesty and the, like me going in and saying, I've shit out here. I've got this badly wrong with you.
Yeah.
And on his last day, I escorted him, walked with him. I wouldn't say escorted. That's the wrong thing. Yeah. Get out of the building. Far from that. I had the privilege of being able to walk with him to the end of the building. I had my tunic on. I had my best dress on, and I saluted him as he left to go into the car park, and basically said, "You stood down, and thank you for your service." And that for me was a moment where you go, I could get things. It doesn't matter how horribly wrong you get stuff. If you can be you and you can be real, you'll be able to recover most things.
Biggest skill I've learned over the years, which I was so appalling at, was dealing with confrontation. And you just showed a great example of how to deal with it well and how it can come out positively. And it's a huge thing in leadership and in business where, and even in sport, you can be in the same team but dislike someone. But actually it might just be a real misinterpretation of why and what's happened. It's fascinating.
Yeah, 100%.
So with what you're doing now, obviously you can draw on all these past experiences to, I suppose, relate to other people. And how does what you do now, do you feel that, this is a stupid question,
No such thing.
do you feel that experience and for me, that it's kind of like a boot camp every day of confrontation and leadership, communication, decision making. How does that relate to what you're doing now? And it must give you immense kind of confidence to say, actually, this works because of this.
Yeah, it definitely does. And the things that you start to identify when you deal with conflict is there's something. First of all, there's something going on for that person, and part of your job is to try and find out what's going on for them. No, if you put it in a business context, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, today I'm going to have a shit day. I'm going to walk in. I'm going to annoy the people in my team. I'm going to be as disagreeable as I possibly can. And I'm going to make as many mistakes as possible. And I'm going to lose us as many clients and customers as I possibly can. And then at the end of the day, when I go home, I'm going to come back and I'm going to pat myself on the back and say, cracking day, that. What a day at work. Loved it. The reality is there is always something going on for people.
Yeah.
And it will either be, some people will put it out there and you'll know exactly what that is. And for other people, they'll hold on to it and you will have to do some digging. You'll have to build confidence and trust with them. Yeah. But when you're dealing with that conflict, you've also got, you've got that bit. Then I think you've got to be able to give people time and space. You've got to be able to ask questions that they feel comfortable to be able to give you an answer. And when you're dealing with conflict, is not just jumping on somebody to give them your response. So you've got to sit back and you've got to listen. And you've got to try and interpret what's going on for them. What are they actually saying to me? And where's the next bit of my conversation going to go? And if that is conflict that is dynamic on the street, as a police officer in a uniform, not wanting to get into a fight, somebody's got a knife or a bottle, or they're kicking off with somebody, there's still something going on. And you may have to give them a bit of time and space so they can hear what you're saying, that they can digest it themselves, they can evaluate what their personal choices might be, and then they decide what their action's going to be.
Right.
Sometimes in the outside world on the street, you've got to intervene and stop them from doing that action that they want to be able to do. That's the nature of it. But if you apply that, how to deal with conflict in business, what you're looking at is, I get to understand you. I listen to you. I don't interrupt you. I give you time and space. I let you think about what you're doing, what your behaviour is, what the impact is, and we'll have a conversation about it. And we'll talk about, how's that helpful? How's that unhelpful? And then we go, right, okay, what are our options? What's the choices then as to where we're going to go with this? How's this going to work? And I mean, tell me if you disagree, but I don't see that you wouldn't be able to solve most issues in business by taking a similar type of approach.
Yeah. I think sometimes with conflict, there's two ways of going about it. You can either ignore it and get on with things. In my experience, that doesn't usually end with positive,
Not at all,
growth and performance. Or you can have a chat and people can get it off the chest and you can try and improve the relationship or the situation in some way, if that's possible. Like I said, it's something that until very recently I was really poor at. Yeah, and I've moved jobs because of it, and I've done all sorts. And when you look back, you think, I could just handled that differently.
And the thing for me is that everybody will deal with everything based on the tools in their toolbox.
Yeah.
And unless you give people a different set of tools or a different way of thinking, they won't be able to change. But when it's really interesting when you talk and say, conflict, you could ignore it, you could try and put it under a stone. The reality is it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Because if you use that example you've described, that conflict is the end result of not being able to resolve that conflict was one person walked out of the business.
Mm.
And that may not have had to have happened, or it may have been the right thing to do, even if the conflict had been brought to the fore. Because when you had that original conflict, what you probably sat there was, I don't want to be able to do all this because this might end up with me leaving the job. So I won't do anything. But then you go, well, actually, not dealing with it has ended up, I've left the job anyway.
Yeah.
So why am I not better off saying what needs to be said? Let's get it out in the open in a controlled way, an adult way, a productive way, and go, we're clearly not on the same page, but how do we work together to work through this?
It's interesting. That main thing for me in all walks of life, if people can get better at that, then things become a lot easier. when you time getting on that. Oh, I could talk for hours and hours. Is there anything when you look back? I know there's so many challenges in the police force about shift work, mental health, and the effects it has on family as well, because it's it's a stressful thing. Do you, when you look back? I don't know where my question is here, but do you? There's a lot of challenges involved in it, and do you feel that is that something you were aware of? While you're doing it.
I think you're aware of some of them, but you don't realize the impact of them. And the one that I'll sort of give as an example is when I like many officers, I do my 30 years service and I come to retire and they say to us, oh, we've got a pre-retirement course for you. And you go, great, I'm going on a pre-retirement course. You spend 2 days. And in the time when I did mine, you spent 2 days listening. It was run by a finance company.
Interesting.
So they are there to tell you how to look after your pension.
Yeah.
What financial management might look like, and how you make that money last for whatever period, or whether you want to work again and you need to top up, but what are your tax implications? And at the end of the 2 days, they sit there and they go, all those things that we've told you about, we go, yeah. Well, we sell those. Would you like to buy one? And you just sit there and go, is that the sum total of what I've been taught for 30 years? Is that your exit of me through the organisation? And there's great people like, I'll name check Tom Wheelhouse, runs a company called Mightify. Tom is brilliant at running support courses for people who are leaving the emergency services, because he looks at what are your transferable skills. Get away from saying, I was just a police officer. Because he will say, no, you weren't. You were a problem solver. You were a leader. You were a negotiator. You were an influencer. You were a conflict manager. You were a risk manager. If you were in leadership roles, you were a budget manager. You were an account holder. You were a HR manager. You were a multitude of all of those different skills. Then he'll support you in, how do you write a CV? How do you recognize what those transferable skills are in the jobs market that's out there? So you're not destined to go, and people would say to me, what are you going to do when you leave? You're going into security. Like, what? No. No, I'm not. And then the other bits that Tom builds in is, what's the mental health impact? And the financial stuff is not about investing. It's, help you understand the stages of your life
Mm.
and the financial stages that you'll go through. You'll need more money at the beginning while you're younger and healthier than you will at the end of your life when you're older and less mobile.
Mm.
And all of that is missing. And the reason it is missing is police forces won't pay because they say, well, the officers are leaving. It's their responsibility if they want that type of development. You go to the Police Federation and they say, well, we're not paying because the officers should put on, it's their responsibility, or the force should pay. Even though they're sat on millions of reserves, that's another story. And then you go to the officers and they say, well, I don't think I should pay because I've been in this environment for 30 years, and isn't this like what the force should offer me as a result of leaving, or the Federation should give me? So you're in this constant triangle of people who are not supporting people to exit. And then what they realize is that, you know, loads of us, me included, leave the organization and then you burn out. The anxiety, the worry, the insecurity kicks in, and you suddenly go, I've got no value, I've got no worth. What do I do? And that aspect of emergency services is not looked after well enough. People leave the organization largely unprepared. That was certainly my experience. Even though I was at a senior level, I felt, when I look back at it, I was hugely unprepared. And then a lot of family, other circumstances happened to me the week I retired that had a significant impact on me. But that needs to change to help people transition away, because what they lose sight of as an organization is how those people leave. That guy that I talked to you about, if his final months and year were acrimonious, negative, really sort of like miserable, then he will go and tell his family and friends who are looking to join the job, don't go and do that. They don't look after you. They're not what they make themselves out to be. And people leave. And you see some of the toxic behaviours that have been prevalent in the news recently.
It does seem like there should be more. Before we finish, I want to move on to what you're doing now a bit more.
Okay.
It's exciting things that you do and how you support businesses and people.
Yeah.
With that, why would someone come and get you guys in? What do they need? What's their problem? Problem you solve.
This is always the hardest thing, isn't it? It's like, what problem do you solve? For me, people will come to us if they've got a team of people that the business is doing really well. They have promoted good people because they're good at their job. But then when that person's got into the job, what they go is, hang on a minute, productivity's gone down, maybe. There's a bit of conflict that's emerging in the teams. That individual seems to be spending most of their life in the workplace, and they're still doing the job that they were doing before, plus they're doing the leadership job on, the management role on top. Or you've got businesses that are looking to grow. They want to be able to increase the size of their teams. And you do get a lot of companies now that buy into, if we're going to do this, our people have got to make this happen. So in order to be able to do that, we need to teach them the people skills that are going to help them with their technical skills so that they can build a team.
Yeah.
Or you'll get, teams within a company that don't collaborate with each other. And there's a recognition of, we're doing really well as a company, but these two areas of business, they don't talk to each other. Whenever they do talk to each other, or more likely about each other, they're not particularly got things to say about each other.
Yeah.
So can you help us bridge that gap as to what's going on and help us have the conversations, or give the people the skills that will enable them to go and have the chats? So, and we always start, we try to start with people from a basis of, before you learn to lead others, learn to lead yourself. And we use behavioral profiling tools so that you get to understand your communication style, how you come across to other people, what your impact is on other people, what motivates, what stresses you. We look at emotional intelligence. So how self-aware are you? And those are the things that I've covered there. but then how do you build an environment, and how do you build the relationships that are needed for you to do your job in the most effective way? And then we build programs that people come to. It could be a 12-month program, it could be a 6-month program, where each month we're in the business and we support the team, present the ideas, but then a lot of it is through conversation, getting people to talk about their experiences of what's going on and just apply those tools to it. So that, the way that you want to be is on a Monday morning, we've been in. Monday afternoon, you could go and have a go at what we've given you. And then the other bit that I have taken on recently that I really enjoy doing is I create men's networks in companies. So work with facilities management companies and engineering companies. And what we're doing is building up a safe space for men who are in businesses to be able to talk about what's going on for them. And if you think about it in the context that, around male leadership and all the rest of it, is that lots of businesses will have networks, so that they might have a women's network, they'll have an LGBTQI, they'll have a Black ethnic minority network, disability network. And then you go look at these companies that are predominantly male and go, is there a male network? And it's not about the fact that males aren't included in the organization. A lot of it is absolutely they're included, and we've had the privilege of it. For many years, but it's also getting an understanding that they too have problems that they want to talk about, their mental health, their physical health. I've sat on networks and people have said, some of the guys have said, I don't believe that I've just told a room of strangers this. I've never even told my wife this. And that for me is that if I can get men in business and men in leadership to open up more and have more authentic conversations about what's really going on, everybody else benefits. Because, I've had criticism before. People say, well, hang on a minute, you're white, you're middle-aged, you're heterosexual, you're married, you're financially stable. Just remind me, they go, about what, where you've been knocked back in life. And that's exactly the reason why I think I have to use my voice to be able to give that to other people, to say, look, absolutely, I've not experienced these things, but what I can do is create a better environment for people by getting guys to talk about the stuff that's really going on for them.
Do you think sometimes blokes, they know what they're feeling like, but they don't know how to express it and verbalize it in a way that seems like a legitimate thing?
A lot, massively so. And when I reflect back on my policing career and the people that I came into contact with, a lot of it is, if you were to dig underneath why they behave the way that they did, a lot of it is because they've never been shown or taught how to deal with their emotions. And, what we deem as wanting to be assertive, the desire to be assertive maybe, will come out under stress as potentially being aggressive and argumentative.
Sure.
But the intention that's underneath it is, I want to be assertive, but I'm actually really stressed. And why am I stressed? Because I don't like people to think that I'm not good enough to do my job. So I'll bark the orders at somebody, or the request and the instruction, and then I'll go off, and then I'll think, sometimes I might think, God, I didn't do a very good job at that. Or other times people don't care. And I just see that if men can get their heads around talking about the real things that are going on with themselves, the more the work environment will change for the better for everyone.
What a great place to end it. I feel like we could talk for another few hours about everything. Thank you so much for coming on, giving it your time. What a great chat that was.
Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, James.
Good.